Welcome, everybody. We're very proud, and as well as I'm proud, to welcome Sarah Esch, Vice President of Team Mexico from SkyMed. She really doesn't need much of an introduction. She's been and spoke here and spoke to us about on an annual basis, but she has always has great information to share, good facts, put some of the myths away. And so I'd like you all to please give her a big warm welcome so she can speak to us today.
Let me just get set up. Thank you for the invitation to speak today to the Rotary. Thank you for attending, anybody who's not a Rotarian, and thank you for attending if you're on Zoom. Before I start talking about SkyMed, I'd just like you to receive my personal wishes for everybody's 2026 at the start of the year. And this is something I heard here in this room on another occasion, and it's always stuck with me. So may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be safe, may you live your life in peace, may you wish the same for everyone else. So thank you for the introduction, Joe. I'm Sarah Ash. I've been with SkyMed for going into 12 years now. But SkyMed has been evacuating people for 35 years. And we average 90, that's 90 evacuations in a year from Mexico alone. I give you those numbers because that's my patch and because that's what's relevant to people in this room if they spend time in Mexico. So I just want you to consider 90 evacuations. I'm going to explain how we do those and our different levels of evacuation. But what that really means is that stuff happens. It really does. And SkyMed takes you home. So if you want to maximize your opportunities and your options in a medical emergency, that's where we come in. And you can, if you don't already have SkyMed and you want more information, come see me afterwards or contact me afterwards, and I'll give you more information. This is really a synopsis of what we do and how we do it. So what I'm going to cover is what we do, how we do it, who needs SkyMed, who is it designed for, and why you may need SkyMed or why you may already have it. And this is a little refresher for those of you who are already members on when you can call us, when we step in, the type of services you have, because a lot of people have 5-year memberships with me, and they may forget in that 5-year period some of the other services that their plan gives them. Okay, so when does SkyMed work for a SkyMed member? If you have a life-threatening accident or illness, if your accident or illness is threatening to an organ or a limb, right, you're hospitalized, you need further treatment immediately, then that's when your SkyMed kicks in. I say that because it's not designed for people who've got a bad knee. They've got a bad knee when they join SkyMed, and they know in the next 5 years they really need that knee replacing. That's not an emergency. You can plan for that and go see family and go do that 5-year-old ballet recital, birthday party, whatever it is, and get your knee done. This is for sudden onset illness and accident that puts you in a medical predicament and you need immediate treatment. So we have mostly 2 levels of evacuation. There are actually 3, but let me explain the first 2. The first one that most of you really think about when you think of medical evacuation is the air ambulance, the private air ambulance. And I will explain about that a little bit more. So if you're very seriously ill or injured and you can only fly on a private air ambulance, then that's where your SkyMed comes in. You contact us. We're very good at what we do, but we're not telepathic. So somebody has to call us and tell us the member needs evacuating. and we put our arrangements together. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that there are a lot of medical situations where you may want to get back to the States or Canada for your treatment, but you don't actually need an air ambulance. But maybe you can fly commercially with a nurse escort. Again, that is part of a SkyMed membership. We will make all those arrangements. You pay nothing. But I would like you to take a step back. In either of those situations, would you know, if you didn't have SkyMed, how would you go about calling the air ambulance? What's involved in that? If you don't have a SkyMed, has anybody done it? Would you know where to start? Do you really want to deal with that when you've got a family member in the hospital or yourself? Same thing with a commercial nurse escort flight. Sounds easy. It's just a sentence. How do you go about doing that? How much would that cost? Well, if you've got a SkyMed membership, you don't worry about that because we make all those arrangements. Now, sometimes there's a third level of evacuation, and that would be somebody who's been hospitalized, and the doctor's done a diagnosis, and they've been told they need further treatment, and they want that treatment done in the States or Canada, but they can actually fly commercially. Good example would be got really bad chest pain, go see a local doctor, they do some tests, maybe have in the hospital overnight, then they tell you need a stent. You don't need to stay in the hospital, but you really ought to go get that stent done. So in that situation, sometimes we can fly people commercially with their partner if they have a family plan, and they go back to the States commercially under their own recognizance on the flight, get their treatment, and then we fly them home. So those first two are the main ones that you really need to be aware of, because those are very hard to put together and they're extremely expensive. And that's where your SkyMed's going to really give you value as peace of mind and to save your pocket by arranging air ambulance and commercial nurse escort flights for you. Now, what are the criteria that are used? How do we decide what level of transport a member needs? Okay, that's very important. We can't be flying people on air ambulances who don't need that level of transportation. The reason we can't be doing that is they run between $60,000 up to $80,000 US per flight on an air ambulance. So what do? We want to offer people the full range of transport that matches their condition. And what happens is if you have a medical emergency as a SkyMed member, you go to the local hospital of your choice, you contact SkyMed, and then we're in touch with the attending physician, okay? And that attending physician is going to be able to tell us the diagnosis, your vital signs. Very importantly, that doctor is in the best position to tell us, does this member need an air ambulance? Could this member fly commercial with a nurse escort? Or is this member okay to fly commercially after being discharged from hospital? So that is how we match the level of transport to the patient's condition. It's in conjunction with working with the attending physician here. And we send the attending physician a fit to fly form. It's like a three-page form. We want the diagnosis, we want your vitals, and then very, very important, we want that doctor to match that level of transport with the condition of the patient. So if you're critically ill in the hospital, for example, even if you've fallen and broken your hip, your attending physician's going to say, this person needs an air ambulance. You've got a broken hip, you shouldn't really be sitting at the airport waiting for the flight to board. You shouldn't really be sitting upright on the flight. You need to be prone, you need to be looked after in a medical situation. That's an air ambulance. But there are many situations where we can fly people comfortably commercially with space available. So if you've got a broken leg and you need first class, then you and your nurse escort and your partner, if you're on a family plan, are going to fly first class. So basically the important point here is we do not land the plane on the Ancha and then come running up to your house with a stretcher because you fell down your stairs and you called us and you said, I think I might have broken my leg or my hip. Could you come get me? So you go to the hospital and then we will work with the attending physician to arrange the correct level of transportation. Now, a lot of people think they've got medical evacuation already and they think they've ticked that box. That's nice when we think we've ticked a box, one less thing to do. But this is a situation where you really need to understand the small print of what you think you have, because the large print giveth and the small print taketh away. Okay. Now, there are many, many SkyMed differences that I won't go into today, but the biggest SkyMed difference that accounts for the fact that we do 90 member services a year from Mexico, we really fly people, is that with SkyMed, you have evacuation by choice of the member, so that's one choice, and you have evacuation to home hospital of choice. That's two very important choices. Now, you'd think that would be sort of standard, wouldn't you? That's what you want with a medical evacuation plan. You want to be evacuated when you are seriously ill or injured, and you want to go home. Well, that is not the case with a lot of lookalike plans. There's medical evacuation on fancy credit cards. There's medical evacuation on travel insurance. There's all sorts of lookalike plans that love to say they're just like SkyMed. They even copy parts of our name. And the truth is, you need to read the small print. With SkyMed, in writing in our member service agreement, it says you have evacuation by choice of the member to the home hospital of choice. Now, why is that important? That means if you fall over here in San Miguel and you break your hip, and you go to the hospital, even though they can treat you locally, and they can, you can choose to be flown home by SkyMed. Now, with the other plans, they're small print, the bits people don't read or don't understand. They will say they will fly you when medically necessary to nearest adequate medical facility. Two important things to remember there. What does medical necessity mean? It means if the hospital locally cannot treat you, only then does that company need to look at moving you. Let's put it another way. If they can treat your broken hip or your heart attack here, other companies are not going to move you. There is no medical necessity. So that excuses them from a lot of services. You're staying here. You're not being evacuated. Now, with the other companies, if they get beyond medical necessity and the hospital is incapable of dealing with you, anybody remember the second part? Where are they going to move you to? Nearest adequate medical facility, period. Now, that does not say nearest adequate medical facility in your home country, in your home state, in your hometown. It says nearest adequate medical facility, period. So legally, they could move you to Mexico City or Querétaro, and they have fulfilled that part of their contract. That's, again, not what people expect when they have a medical evacuation plan. They think it's going to evacuate them when they want to be evacuated, and probably they're expecting to be evacuated back home, at least to their home country where their insurance works. That's what you've got with SkyMed. And that's why we do 90 services a year. We leave it open. We do not tie you up with so many loopholes and restrictions that you're never going to get the evacuation. So SkyMed is the bridge back to your home hospital of choice, where you've got family, maybe you've got familiar doctors, where your insurance is going to work without reimbursement forms or paying out of pocket. Sorry, I've got two different places here that I'm... Okay, so now I'm going to give you an example, a local example of an air ambulance evacuation. This is Jim and Elizabeth Scott. They're Canadians, and they're SkyMed members. And some years ago, Jim was up a little ladder, one of those 3-step ladders. I bet we've all got them, right? They look innocuous, right? They're only 3 steps. Right? How much damage can you do on a 3-step ladder? Well, I don't know what he was doing. I don't know if he was getting something out of a closet, or if he was hanging a picture. But he fell off the ladder. Now, luckily, he didn't hit his head, but he caught his foot between the steps, and then the physics comes in. It's just your weight and the speed of the fall, and he broke every bone between his leg and his foot. So now he's on the ground with a compound fracture. Now, the very important thing here is that they had already discussed amongst themselves, what would we do in an emergency? And Elizabeth knew she wanted to take him to MAC, No hospital preference there. I'm not saying you should go to one hospital over another. That happens to be the nearest to their place of rental in San Miguel. So they already knew, go to the MAC. She already knew how to call an ambulance. A talk for another day, how to call an ambulance in Spanish. Do your homework. Make sure you know how to call an ambulance, the number, how to give your address, any of those peculiar things about San Miguel, like, well, we're the number 17 on the left as you go up the hill and it's pink, not the 17, not, whatever. Say it in Spanish. Practice, please. Anyway, they get to the hospital. She calls SkyMed. What do we need? Doctor's going to be in contact with our medical team. We need the fit to fly form. He's got a compound fracture. That is going to be an air ambulance already. Now, at that time, he's then rushed into ICU, being diagnosed with a pulmonary embolus. Does that mean we can't fly him home because he's in ICU? No, it means we need an ICU level air ambulance. We must fit the transport and equipment and doctors on the plane to suit his medical condition. Anyway, long story short, we fly them back to Saskatchewan. Okay, Saskatoon. He has his surgery, and then we fly him back. Another SkyMed difference. This is a commercial nurse escort. This is Dr. Goff. I always use this one because people here call San Miguel the city of fallen women, right? Yeah, I'll just tell you, just as many men fall because we evacuate them. Okay. Sorry, let's put up. Here he is. He was on his way to or from a dinner party, fell, smashed up the shoulder, broken humerus, torn rotator cuffs. He's diagnosed, he's stabilized. That's a commercial nurse escort flight. So that means himself as the patient, the nurse escort, and the wife flew to Miami, has his shoulder. We fly him back when he's ready. SkyMed does all of the evacuations from head office in Scottsdale. If you remember, please don't call me in an emergency. I'm not on 24-hour call out. I'm very helpful, but right now my phone's turned off. So you call head office. Everything is arranged from Scottsdale by the team that do nothing but evacuations. They're the emergency response team. And we do on average 3 per day. So you're in good hands. I'm sorry. Also, your SkyMed is not just for San Miguel back to California or San Miguel back to Boston. It covers you throughout our basic service area, so it covers you in the States, Canada, Caribbean, all of Mexico, even if it's level 4. That's a unique feature of SkyMed. Other plans won't go to level 3 and level 4 areas. What are you sitting in right now? Level 3, as per the State Department. Reconsider necessity of trip. Well, we did. We're here. SkyMed will still come rescue you. The other plans won't go to level 3 and level 4 areas. So we do hospital to hospital. That's bed to bed. That's the air ambulance I described. Commercial nurse escort flights. Your companion will always fly with you if you have a family plan. Return transport after recovery. So we'll fly you back here. No waiting period visitor transportation. So if you are hospitalized and you want a family member flown in, also upon death of the member. So if you pass away in Mexico, the family member or friend who has to come down and tie up loose ends for you doesn't have to put their hand in the pocket for a last minute ticket. As long as you've told them beforehand, they can call SkyMed and we will pay for that flight in so that they can come and do that work for you. Helicopter transport, so if you are charged for a helicopter ride, SkyMed reimburses. Those get very, very expensive. You might pay 20%, you might pay a deductible, you might pay all of it. They average about $50,000 per helicopter flight. And then physical remains return. So if your wishes are for body or ashes to be returned to the States or Canada, that's all, again, part of the plan. I'll jump ahead here in the interest of time. So if you do not have a SkyMed plan and you have it yourself or a family member in the hospital, you're going to have to call private companies and get a quote. Now that's going to cost you between $30 to $150 per mile flown. Why that big gap? Because they will quote you whatever they think the market will bear. You have no negotiating stance in an emergency like this. They know that you have never called and done this arrangement before. You do not know who else to call for a negotiated price, playing one off against the other. You don't have the time, you don't have the emotional bandwidth, you're stressed. So they will quote you whatever they think the market will bear. It's also cash up front. If you have to do it privately, that means you're finding that 50 to 80,000 US dollars up front before they send a plane. So in closing, if you have SkyMed, you call SkyMed, we make all the arrangements for you, and you pay nothing. You're evacuated, and then if you need to, we will fly you home. So basically, we're there to protect your lifestyle, protect your nest egg, protect your life. And we did the most recent air ambulance flight from San Miguel within the last 2 weeks, and it was San Miguel to Tucson. Patient's doing fine. I just got photographs from the wife. Patient will be in hospital and rehab for up to 6 weeks. Wouldn't want to pay for that down here. It's less expensive than the States, but 6 weeks in a hospital bed will add up. And but I look forward to being able to fly that gentleman and his wife back when he's through his rehab. So I'll take some questions. Do I have time for questions? Yeah, any questions? And I will wait outside in the cafe if people want to ask me questions privately. Yes, sir? Okay, so his question was, are there any criteria used to rule out certain people? Yes, in a way, which is that when you first join, you do have to do a short health questionnaire. The doctor fills out a health questionnaire for you from records. And you do go through medical underwriting when you first join. Most people get through that. Depends on your age. It is a combination of age and medical condition. I have to say, some people do not qualify. And that's why you need to come and see me and get a plan while you're healthy. Don't leave it until you are very, very old and very, very frail and the highest risk you can probably be, because at that point, it's too late to join the plan. Any other questions? No? Okay, I think I'm done. Thank you.